This So we're starting from chapter 8 of the book, The 5 a.m. Method, the morning routine of world builders. So it is well to be up before daybreak, for such habits contribute to health, wealth, and wisdom. Aristotle. Welcome to the 5 a.m. club, the billionaire bellowed as he bounded down the steps from his seaside home. Bonjour, that's Creole for good morning. You're right on time. I love it. Punctuality is the trait of royalty. At least it is in my playbook. Stone Barley's my name, he declared as he graciously extended a hand to greet his two guests. The tattered old clothes had been replaced with a black pair of trimly cut running shorts and a pristine white t-shirt with the line, "No idea works until you do the work," emblazoned on it. He was barefoot and cleanly shaven, seemed extremely fit and sported a wonderful suntan, all of which made him look many years younger than he had appeared at the seminar. On his head he wore a black baseball cap turned backward. His green eyes were still uncommonly clear, and his smile was astonishingly radiant. Yes, there was something exceedingly special about this man, as the entrepreneur had sensed. A white dove hovered over the tycoon, floating in the air for about 10 seconds, as if suspended by magic. Then it flew off. Can you imagine this? It was a miraculous thing to see. Let me give you a hug, if you don't mind, the billionaire enthused, wrapping his long arms around the entrepreneur and the artist at the same time, without waiting for a reply. God, you have courage. Yes, you do, he mused. You trusted a disheveled old man, a total stranger. I know I looked like a vagrant the other day. Hey, it's not that I don't care about how I look. I just don't care that much about how I look, he said as he laughed at his own lack of self-consciousness. I just like to keep things real, nice and simple, completely authentic. Makes me think of that old insight. Having lots of money doesn't make you different. It just makes you more of who you were before you made the cash. The billionaire peered out into the ocean and allowed the early rays of a fresh dawn to wash over him. He closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. The contours of his chiseled abdominal muscles were noticeable through his t-shirt. Next he pulled a flower from the back pocket of his black shorts. Neither the entrepreneur nor the artist has ever seen a flower like this one, and it wasn't at all damaged from being in the billionaire's pocket. Strange. Flowers are very important to anyone serious about creating magic in their work and private lives, spoke the Mughal as he sniffed the petals. Anywho, I wanted to mention that my father was a farmer. I grew up on a farm before we moved to Southern California. We thought simple, spoke simple, ate simple, and lived simple. You can take the boy out of the country, you know, but you can't take the country out of the boy, he added, expressing an enthusiasm that was contagious while his sights were riveted on the magnificent sea. The entrepreneur and the artist thanked the billionaire profusely. They explained that their adventure so far had been phenomenal, and mentioned sincerely that the island and its exclusive beach were more beautiful than anything they had previously seen. Utopia, isn't it? Said the billionaire as he put on his sunglasses. I am blessed, that's for sure. I'm so glad you cats are here. So was it your father who got you into the habit of getting up with the sun? Asked the artist as they strolled along the water's edge. A tiny crab raced by while 3 butterflies ascended above. Stunningly, the billionaire started twirling around like a whirling dervish. While he spun, he began to shout these words: I would have it inscribed on the curtains of your chamber. If you do not rise early, you can make progress in nothing. What are you doing? Questioned the entrepreneur. It's an excellent quote from William Pitt, the Earl of Chatham. For some reason, I just felt the need to share it right now. Anywho, let me answer the question about my father, the billionaire said awkwardly. Yes and no. I watched him rise early every morning of my childhood. As with any good routine, he did it so many times that it became impossible for him not to do it. But like most kids, I resisted what my dad wanted me to do. I always had some form of rebel within me. I'm a bit of a pirate in a way. Rather than fight a small war with me every day, for whatever reason, he just let me do what I wanted to do, so I'd sleep late. Cool father, spoke the entrepreneur, who was dressed in yoga gear this morning and carried her device with her to take careful notes. He was, affirmed the billionaire, warmly putting his arms around his students as they continued to walk slowly along the pristine beach. Mr. Riley continued. It was actually the spellbinder who taught me the 5 a.m. method. I was a young man when I first met him. I just launched my first company. I needed someone to guide me, challenge me, and develop me as an entrepreneur, a peak achiever, and as a leader. Everyone said he was the best executive coach in the world by far. He had a 3-year waiting list, so I called him every day until he agreed to become my mentor. He was pretty young back then too, but his teachings had a depth of wisdom, a purity of power, and an ingenious impact that was remarkably advanced for his age. And the early rising discipline helped? The artist broke in. The billionaire smiled at the artist and stopped walking. It was the one practice that changed and elevated every other practice. Researchers now call this kind of core behavior that multiplies all your other regular patterns of performing a keystone habit. Wiring it in as a profound neural pathway took some effort, a little suffering along the way, and the strongest commitment I had in me. I'll be honest with you, there were days during the process of automating this routine that I was cranky. Days when my head pounded like a jackhammer and mornings where I just wanted to keep sleeping. But once I locked and loaded, getting up at 5 a.m. regularly, my days grew consistently and vastly better than anything I've ever experienced. How? Both listeners wondered aloud in unison. The entrepreneur touched one of her fingers on the artist's arm affectionately, as if to suggest they were together in this experience, that they were now a team, and she had his best interests at heart. The artist locked his eyes onto hers. A gentle grin emerged. The billionaire went on. In this time of exponential change, overwhelming distractions, and overflowing schedules, getting up at 5 a.m. and running the morning regime, the spellbinder taught me was my antidote to average. No more rushing in my morning. Imagine what that alone does for the quality of your day. Starting your day luxuriating in the quietude only the early morning provides. Beginning your day feeling strong and centered and free. I found that my mind became dramatically more focused as the days progressed. Every great performer, whether we're talking about a championship athlete, a top-tier executive, a celebrated architect, or a revered cellist, has developed the ability to concentrate on optimizing their particular skill for long, uninterrupted periods of time. This capability is one of the special factors that allows them to generate such high-quality results in a world where too many people dilute their cognitive bandwidth and fragment their attention. Accepting poor performances and ordinary achievements while leading lives of disappointing mediocrity. I definitely agree, indicated the artist. It's rare to see someone focus on their art for many, many hours in a row these days. The spellbinder was right when, at his session, he called people addicted to their devices cyber zombies. I see them every day. It's like they're not real human beings anymore, more like robots glued to their screens, not present and half alive to life. I hear you, said the billionaire. Protection from distraction is precisely how you need to work if you're serious about dominating your field and winning at your craft. Neuroscientists call this peak mental state we're speaking of, where our perception becomes heightened and our availability to original ideas rises, and we access an all-new level of processing power flow. And rising at 5 a.m. promotes the flow state gorgeously. Oh, and by getting up before daybreak, while almost everyone around you is asleep, my creativity also soared, my energy definitely doubled, my productivity surely tripled, You're serious? The entrepreneur interrupted, unable to contain her fascination with the idea that a simple shift towards a bespoke morning routine could reorder a human life so completely. Absolutely. Honesty has been one of my core convictions for all my years in business. Nothing beats going to sleep early each night with an unspoiled conscience and a mess-free heart. That's part of my farm boy nature, I guess, observed the billionaire. Abruptly, the entrepreneur's phone signaled the arrival of an urgent incoming message. So sorry, I told my team not to call me here. I was clear with them. I can't imagine why they're bothering me now, she said as she looked down at the screen. In all caps, the following stark words appeared. Leave the company or else you die. The entrepreneur fumbled with her phone. Then she accidentally dropped it into the sand. Soon she was gasping for air. What happened? The artist asked quickly, sensing trouble. Seeing the blood wash out of his friend's face and her hands trembling, he repeated with greater intensity and even higher empathy. What happened? The billionaire also appeared concerned. Are you okay? Do you need some water or something? I just received a death threat from my investors. They want my firm. They are trying to kick me out because they think I have too big a share. They just told me that if I don't walk away, they'll kill me. Instantly, the billionaire ripped off the sunglasses he was sporting and held them in the air, making a circling movement. Seconds later, from behind a flourish of palm trees, large men with earpieces and rifles sprinted down to the beachfront as fast as a cyclist on steroids. Boss, you all right? The tallest of the two men asked tensely. Yes, came the confident and calm reply to a security detail. But I need you to check this out immediately. If it's cool for me to do this for you, he said as he looked at the entrepreneur, I can help you make this go away. The billionaire then muttered something to himself, and a flight of doves soared by. Sure, yes, I'd appreciate some help, the businesswoman replied, her voice still shaking and pearls of perspiration appearing on her forehead, in the area where all those creases were. Leave this with us, declared the billionaire. He then spoke to his protection people. Politely yet with an undeniable air of authority. Seems my guest here is being seriously harassed by some thugs hoping to take over the enterprise. Please figure out exactly what they're up to and then present me with your solution. Don't worry, he told the entrepreneur. My guys are the best in this business. This won't be a problem. Mr. Riley articulated this last sentence in a fashion that emphasized each word for powerful effect. Thank you very much, the entrepreneur responded, looking enormously relieved. The artist held her hand tenderly. Okay if I continue? The billionaire requested as the sun rose higher into the glamorous tropical sky. His guest nodded. An attendant, impeccably attired, emerged from a hut that sat higher up on the beach. It was painted green with white trim. Soon the aide was serving the richest, most delicious coffee the entrepreneur and the artist had enjoyed in their lives. Fantastic cognitive enhancer when consumed in moderation each morning, expounded the billionaire as he sipped away, and it's packed with antioxidants. So coffee also slows aging. Anyway, where were we? I was telling you about the awesome benefit that flowed to me after I joined the 5 a.m. club and ran the morning methodology the spellbinder revealed to me. It's called the 20-20-20 formula. And trust me, once you learn this concept alone and then apply it with persistency, your productivity, prosperity, performance, and impact will increase exponentially. I can't think of another ritual that has contributed to my success and well-being as much. I'm exceedingly low-key about what I've been able to accomplish in my business career. I've always viewed bragging as a major defect of character. The more powerful a person truly is, the less they need to promote it. And the stronger a leader is, the less they need to announce it. The spellbinder spoke a bit about what you've been able to achieve, offered the entrepreneur, now looking even more relaxed. And the wild way you dressed at the conference definitely confirmed it, interjected the artist, flashing a sensational smile that showcased a few broken teeth. Rising at 5 a.m. every morning was the main personal practice that made most of that happen, allowed me to become a visionary thinker, gave me a reflective space to develop a formidable inner life. The discipline helped me to become ultra fit, with all the beautiful income advancements as well as lifestyle enhancements that come with superior health. Early rising also made me a pretty amazing leader, and it helped me grow myself into a much better person. Even when the prostate cancer tried to devastate me, it was my morning routine that insulated me. It really was. I'll go into the 20-20-20 amazing results from the first moment you wake up. You cats won't believe the power and value of the information that's coming. I'm so excited for you too. Welcome to paradise, and welcome to the first day of a substantially better life. The entrepreneur slept more soundly that night in Mauritius than she had in years. Despite the threat she had received, the combination of the billionaire's brief instruction, the magnificence of the natural setting, the purity of the clean ocean air, and her growing fondness for the artist caused her to let go of many of her concerns and rediscover a state of calm she'd long since forgotten. Then, at precisely 3:33 a.m., she heard a thunderous bang on her door. She knew it was this time because she glanced at the alarm clock on her wooden night table in the stylish guest house her host had arranged for her to stay in. The entrepreneur assumed it was the artist, perhaps dealing with jet lag or sleepless after the excellent yet large dinner they had enjoyed together. Without asking who it was, she opened the door. No one was there. Hello, she announced to the star-filled sky. Waves softly collided with the seashore near her cottage, and the scents of roses, incense, and sandalwood could be detected in the breeze. Anyone here? Silence. The entrepreneur carefully shut the door. This time she bolted the lock. As she shuffled back to her bed that was covered with Egyptian cottons and English linens, 3 mighty knocks pounded on the door. Yes? Cried the entrepreneur, now alarmed. Yes? We have the morning coffee you ordered, madam, a husky voice replied. The entrepreneur's face was crowded by crevices again. Her heart began to thump vigorously. She grew deeply distressed, and her stomach filled with knots as humongous as the Alps. They're bringing me coffee at this not-so hour? Unbelievable. She returned to the front of the guest house, undid the lock, and opened the front door haltingly. A stocky man with a disagreeable bald head and one eye that seemed out of joint stood there smirking. He wore a red windbreaker and denim shorts that dropped just below his knees. Around his neck was a thin piece of blue string. Dangling from it was a plastic laminated photo of a person's face. The entrepreneur squinted to see the face more clearly in the darkness, and as she did, she saw the image of an older man, one she knew very well, one she loved very much, one she missed considerably. The picture in the plastic she was studying was of her dead father. "Who are you?" screamed the terrified entrepreneur. "How did you get this photo?" "I've been sent by your business partners. We know everything there is to know about you. Everything. We've tracked all your personal data. We've hacked all your files. We've investigated your entire history." The bald man in the windbreaker reached out under the front of his belt and pulled out a knife, bringing it to within a few inches of the entrepreneur's thin and particularly veiny throat. "No one can protect you now. We have an entire team focused on you. I'm not going to hurt you yet. This time's just about me making a point, giving you an in-person message. Leave your company, give up your equity and say bye-bye. Or you get this blade in your neck when you least expect it, when you think you're safe, maybe with that chubby painter friend of yours." The man pulled the knife away and replaced it under his belt. "Have a good night, madam. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I know we'll see each other soon." Then he reached forward and pulled the door shut with a slam. The entrepreneur, badly shaken, fell to her knees. 3 more strikes came to the door. "Please, God, help me. I can't take this anymore. I don't want to die." 3 more strikes came to the door. These ones were gentler. "Hey, it's me. Please open the door." The knocking startled the entrepreneur and woke her up. The tapping continued. She opened her eyes, peered around the lightless room, and realized she'd been caught in a bad dream. The businesswoman rose from her bed, shuffled across the wide planked oak floor, and opened the front door, knowing it was the artist after hearing his familiar voice. "I just had the most insane dream," said the entrepreneur. "A brutal man showed up here and had a piece of plastic hanging from his neck with a photo of my dad in it, and threatened to stab me with a knife if I didn't give my firm over to the investors." "You okay now?" the artist asked softly. "I'll be fine." "I had an unusual dream too," the artist explained. "I couldn't sleep after it. It got me thinking about so many things. The quality of my art, the depth of my belief system, the foolishness of my excuses, my cynical attitude, my aggressiveness, my self-sabotage, and my endless procrastination. I'm analyzing my daily routines and how I'll spend the rest of my life." "Hey, you sure you're okay?" the artist questioned, realizing he was talking a little too much about himself and not empathizing with his alarmed companion. "I'm fine. Better now that you're here." "You sure?" "Yes. I missed you," the artist said. "Do you mind if I tell you more about my dream?" Go ahead, encouraged the entrepreneur. Well, I was a little kid at school, and every day I pretend I was two things, a giant and a pirate. All day long, I believed I had the strength of a giant and the rule breaking swagger of a pirate. I told my teachers I was these two characters, and at home I told my parents the same thing. My teachers laughed at me and put me down, telling me to be more realistic, to behave more like the other kids, and stop all my ridiculous dreaming. What did your parents say? Were they kinder to you? Asked the entrepreneur, now sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed in a yoga posture. Same as my teachers. They told me I wasn't a giant, and that I definitely was no pirate. They reminded me that I was a little boy, and told me that if I didn't limit my imagination, stifle my creativity, and put an end to my fantasies, they'd punish me. So what happened? I did what I was told to do. I caved in. I bought into the attitudes of the adults. I made myself tinier instead of grander, so I'd be a good boy. I suffocated my hopes, gifts, and powers in an effort to conform, like most people do every single day of their lives. I'm starting to realize how much we've been hypnotized away from our brilliance and brainwashed out of our genius. Spellbinder and the billionaire are right. Tell me more about your dream, the entrepreneur urged. I began to mold myself to the system. I started to become a follower. Sorry, I just need to answer the door if you can give me 2 minutes. Sorry, let me continue. I did what I was told to do. I caved in. I brought into the attitudes of the adults. I made myself tinier instead of grander, so I'd be a good boy. I suffocated my hopes, gifts, and powers in an effort to conform, like most people do every single day of our lives. I'm starting to realize how much we've been hypnotized away from our brilliance and brainwashed out of our genius. The spellbinder and the billionaire are right. Tell me more about your dream, the entrepreneur urged. I began to mold myself to the system. I started to become a follower. I no longer believed I was as powerful as a giant and as swashbuckling as a pirate. I sheepwalked with the flock, becoming like everybody else. Eventually, I grew into a man who spent money I didn't have, buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. What a poor way to live. I do some of that behavior too, admitted the entrepreneur. I'm learning so much about myself thanks to this very weird and hugely useful voyage. I'm starting to realize how superficial I've been, how selfish I am, and how many good things I actually have going for me in my life. Many people in the world couldn't even imagine experiencing all the blessings I have. Got you, said the artist. So in my dream, I became a bookkeeper. I married and had a family. I lived in a subdivision and drove a good car. I had a fairly nice life, a few true friends, work that paid my mortgage, and a salary that handled my bills. But each day looked the same, grey versus vivid, boring instead of enchanting. And as I got older, the children left home to live lives of their own. My body aged, my energy fell, and unfortunately, my wife in my dream passed away. As I grew even older, my eyesight began to fail, my hearing began to fade, and my memory became extremely weak. This is making me feel sad, voiced the entrepreneur, sounding vulnerable. And when I got really old, I actually forgot where I lived, couldn't remember my name, and lost all sense of who I was in the community. But get this, I began to remember who I truly was again, a giant and a pirate, right? Exactly, replied the artist. The dream made me understand that I can't postpone doing amazing work anymore, that I can't put off improving my health, my happiness, my confidence, and even my love life. Really? Wondered the entrepreneur wistfully. Really, responded the artist. He then reached forward and kissed her on the forehead. So I would just like to pause here, and we can probably start chapter 9 shortly. I guess while I was reading this part, I was just thinking, so a bit of background on me. I have two young kids, so I have one that's 9 months and a girl that is 3 years old. And it's interesting because I think when you see your kids, you realize that they have, especially a 3-year-old, she herself is totally her favorite person right now. So she absolutely loves herself. She always comes and she'll be like, "Look, Zoya's looking so pretty today," and it just makes me think that we all were this little kid at one point where we all probably loved ourselves the most, and had all these dreams and hopes. And when you ask her what she wants to be, she says she wants to be a doctor, she wants to be a teacher, she wants to be a mummy, she wants to be a papa. And sometimes I wonder, what kind of happens that makes us start having so many doubts, so many insecurities. And when I look at my children, I'm like, how can I make sure that I help them always love themselves the most? So I'm curious to, understand from you guys, or at least discuss together as a group, what can we do to kind of bring out that little kid in us, and help us kind of, you know, break away from that rut sometimes that we fall into as we grow older and we have these insecurities and self-doubt. And obviously this doesn't happen to all of us, but I just thought it would be a good discussion point.
Frankly, personally, I should say that even I was thinking that what did I want to be? There was nothing I thought I will not achieve if I set my mind to it. I still think that. It's just that my sense of wonder at everything has become jaded. And that I think is the saddest part. That, what I used to find amazing is something commonplace now, which I think I should learn. So I have a set of my grandparents, while my grandmother is still alive, who
Mm-hmm.
have traveled the world but take joy in the most simplest of things. Even, by taking a walk, I think we should get back that love for life. And that will again kindle a sense of, um, I would say, wonderment. And that will bring back the confidence. The confidence, I don't know if my confidence has faded, but yeah, a lot more doubtfuls than earlier. But yeah, I don't have the wonderment, and I wish I had the wonderment. I had that love for life, that everything was wonderful, everything was beautiful, and there was meaning in everything. Devamma,
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that.
what did you understand, Devamma? And what do you think?
That young teacher, ma'am. But he was young, but he has so much wisdom, ma'am. And Yeah. At that age, it has so much wisdom that means we can't judge the book by its cover. That means that I have understood, and they have spoken about the 5 a.m. morning that could make us more active and fresh, ma'am, and that could bring that some more positive thinkings about the day when we woke up at 5 a.m. And yes, ma'am, that's it.
No, so what Anushka was saying is,
Oh,
you see that small child, the artist when he was a small child, he felt he could be a pirate and he could be a giant, and he was always behaving like that. And now Anushka has two small children. She wants to make sure that they always love themselves and not get worried and scared about the world. So, what do you think she should do?
um, I don't know, ma'am. Like I don't have that much maturity, I think.
I don't think any of us can give a complete answer. But yeah, so Anushka, I would suggest that you make sure that try to always make them love the small things. Just don't, make sure you appreciate
Yeah.
that they do whatever they do, even small or big. And that, they will also learn to appreciate the small ones. Like, if they do something small and they're very glad they did it, appreciate it how many ever
Mm-hmm.
times.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is I'm saying because my children are 25 and 23. So I don't I still do remember how naughty they were when they were young. I have two
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
So
Oh well.
exactly. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't sit still. So it was a challenge. But God's grace, they grew up to be wonderful, wonderful young men. Very, very, very caring
Oh.
and very affectionate and very hardworking. So, yeah, wonderful humans. So, I'm grateful for that. I must have done something right.
Yeah, for sure. I think you only realize how hard parenting is when you have kids. So definitely did
Oh,
a lot of
yes.
right things there.
Yeah. And you don't know how much my
Um,
appreciation for my mom went, literally skyrocketed
yeah. Yeah,
after
it's
I
true.
had my two.
I
Yeah.
can imagine. Gosh.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
you
yeah. I
can
mean,
be for another 10
it really made
minutes?
me reflect.
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
gonna start chapter 9 now, actually.
Okay. I'm
Great.
sorry if I've interrupted
Okay,
you in some
so
way.
no,
Did I
not at all, not
interrupt?
at all.
Okay.
No, I was just saying that I really liked that end of that chapter. It really made me think about myself as well, and how, like, if I really go back to the drawing board and peel away all those layers, what is it that I really want to do? So maybe a bit of homework for me after this, but let's carry
Yes.
on with the book.
Yes. Yes.
So, a framework for the expression of greatness. The men who are great live with that which is substantial. They do not stay with that which is superficial. They abide with realities. They remain not with what is showy. The one they discard, the other they hold. Lao Tzu. Hey, cats, boomed the billionaire. You're right on time as usual. Nice work. It was 5 a.m., and while the retreating outline of the moon remained in the sky, the rays of a new dawn greeted the three human beings standing on the perfect beach. The perfumed ocean breeze swelled with the notes of red hibiscus, clove, and tuberose. A Mauritius kestrel, the rarest falcon in the world, flew overhead, and a pink pigeon, the scarcest on the planet, minded its business near a lush cluster of palm trees. A family of geckos shot by on their way to someplace important, and a giant Aldabra tortoise crawled along a grassy bank above the shore. All this natural splendor elevated the joy and electrified the spirits of the 3 billionaires of the 5 a.m. club who stood on the sand. The billionaire pointed to a bottle floating in the ocean. As he waved his finger from side to side, the bottle moved from side to side. When he twirled a digit, the bottle in the water swirled with it. And when he lifted a hand slowly, the bottle appeared to rise above the surface of the moon. Soon the container washed up onto the wet sand, and it became clear that a swatch of silk had been rolled up inside it. Picture how mysterious all this seemed. A message in a bottle, declared the billionaire happily. He started clapping his hands like a little tyke. He sure was an abnormal and totally wonderful character. This conveniently sets the tone for my mentoring session with you this morning, he added. The industrialist then lifted the vessel, unscrewed the cap, and pulled out the fabric, which had the framework below stitched onto it. The 3-step success formula. Step 1, learning, better awareness, growing. Step 2, implementation, execution, better choices. Step 3, income impact, better results. This is one of the simplest yet gnarliest of the teaching models the spellbinder shared when he started coaching me as a young man, explained the billionaire, using more of his surfer slang, and it'll provide the context for all the teachings that will follow. So I really want you both to understand it intimately. At first glance, it seems like a really basic model, but as you integrate it over time, you'll see how profound it is. Mr. Riley then closed his eyes, covered his ears with his hands, and recited these words. The beginning of transformation is the increase of perception. As you see more, you can materialize more. And once you know better, you can achieve bigger. The great women and men of the world, the ones responsible for the magical symphonies, the beautiful movements, the advancements of science, and the progress of technology, started by re-engineering their thinking and reinventing their awareness. In so doing, they entered a secret universe that the majority could not perceive, and this, in turn, allowed them to make daily choices few choose to make, which automatically deliver the daily results few get to experience. The tycoon reopened his eyes. He raised an index finger to his lips, as if immersed in some splendidly weighty insight. Looking intently at the framework embedded into the silk, he continued. Heroes, titans, and icons all have a personal trait that average performers just don't show, you know. Which is? Asked the artist, who was dressed goofily in a muscle shirt and Speedo swimsuit. Rigor, replied the billionaire. The best in the world have depth. Members of the majority often get stuck in a mindset of superficiality in their work. Their whole approach is light. No real preparation. Very little contemplation, and then the setting of a towering vision for the desired outcome, along with patiently considering the sequencing of executions that will result in an awesome result. The 95% of performers don't invest painstaking attention into the tiniest of details and fail to refine the smallest of finishes like the great masters do. For most people, the truth is that it's all about the path of least resistance, getting what they need to get done fast and just sneaking by, mailing it in instead of bringing it on. The the majority of exceptional creative achievers operate under a completely different philosophy. Tell me, appealed the artist, intrigued. They apply a mentality of granularity instead of a mindset of superficiality. They have encoded depth as a lifetime value and exist under a profound insistence on greatness in all that they do. Exceptionalists fully understand that their creative output, no matter if they are bricklayers or bakers, chief executive officers or dairy farmers, astronauts or cashiers, represents their reputation. The best in any endeavor appreciate the fact that your good name is branded onto every piece of work that you release, and they get that you can't put a price tag on people saying superb things about you. The billionaire rubbed the bottle. Then he held it up and viewed the last evidence of the disappearing moon through its glass before continuing his discourse. But it goes deeper than social approval, the industrialist indicated. The grade of work you offer to the world reflects the strength of the respect you have for yourself. Those with unfathomable personal esteem wouldn't dare send out anything average. It would diminish them too much. If you want to lead your field, Mr. Riley went on, become a performer and a person of depth. He reinforced, commit to being a highly unusual human commit to being a highly unusual human being instead of one of those timid souls who behave like everyone else, living a sloppy life instead of a magnificent one, a derivative life instead of an original one. Profound, the artist contributed, showing great exuberance while taking off his muscle shirt to get some sun. In their work, the maestros of mastery are extraordinarily thoughtful. They think precisely about what they are doing. They hold their labor to the highest of standards and sweat the smallest of strokes, like master sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini did as he crafted Fontana dei Quattro Fiumi, Fountain of the Four Rivers, his masterpiece that sits gloriously in the center of Piazza Navona in Rome. Such producers are meticulous and craft near flawless. And, as obvious as this sounds, they just really, really, really care. But people have a lot to do in their days these days, interjected the entrepreneur. This isn't the 1600s. My inbox is full. My schedule is packed. I have back-to-back meetings most days. I need to do pitches. I feel like I can never keep up with all that's coming at me. Shooting for mastery isn't easy. I understand, the billionaire replied kindly. Less is more, you know. You're attempting too much. Geniuses understand that it's smarter to create one masterwork than 1,000 ordinary pieces. One of the reasons I love being around the finest art is that the belief systems, emotional inspiration, and ways of working of those great virtuosos rub off on me. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, these epic performances inhabited an entirely different universe than most people in business and society populate today, as I've suggested. Just then, a brilliantly colored butterfly perched on the very tip of Stone Riley's left ear. He smiled and said, Hey, little buddy, nice to see you again. The magnate then added, When you deconstruct how the superstars, virtuosos, and geniuses achieved what they did, you realize that it was their heightened awareness for the opportunities for daily greatness that inspired them to make the better daily choices that yielded better daily results. Mr. Riley pointed to the learning model. That's the power of self-education, he went on. As you become aware of new ideas, you'll grow as a producer and as a person. As you escalate your personal and professional development, the level at which you implement and execute around your gorgeous ambitions will rise. And of course, as your ability to make your dreams and visions into reality increases, you'll be rewarded with greater income and higher impact. The magnate spoke as he tapped a finger onto step 3 of the diagram. This is why agreeing to this training with me was such a smart move, and this is what this framework here is designed to teach you. The billionaire scratched his lean abs and inhaled a deep breath of oceaned air. And may I say that because of the way the remarkable ones saw the world and how they behaved when it came to their crafts, and because they showed up in their lives so very differently from the way the mass of humanity operates, they were called cooks. Misfits, weirdos. They weren't, exclaimed the billionaire exuberantly. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop at the end of that page. Do either of you want to share anything more about this chapter that we've read? Anything that you liked from the chapter?
Devamma, Ravalya, what did you like about the chapter? Anushka ma'am is asking. Sorry, Anushka, I'm kind of reiterating what you said. I'm
No
repeating.
worries at all. You're helping me a lot.
Yes, ma'am, that three-step success formula, ma'am. First, we should aware of the things, ma'am, what we are going to choose, and we should have the better choice. Then only we can get better results. That's what they're trying to tell. That, and I have understood that.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so Ravalya is saying she'll speak tomorrow. So we can close the meeting. And there's a lot of food for thought for us as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well,
Yeah.
great. Thank you guys for joining. Have a good rest of your night and take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Anushka, for your reading. Thank you so much, Ravalya and Devamma. Thank you, Sandhya.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Good night.